Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in. My name is Dave. I'm one of the game designers for the MMORPG Ethereal Echoes of Yore. And today I want to go over our roadmap document and show a new roadmap document and another roadmap document after that to show sort of where we have headed and where we are heading with the game. So this roadmap document that you see right here is what we released around, I think, 6 months ago, if not a little longer. And the goal of this was 4 goals: to have better core improvements, system improvements, to implement relics, and to start to implement endgame systems. So what I did for this roadmap is I grayed out all the things that we had worked on or implemented, and then everything that we have still to do is not grayed out. So for goal 1, we worked on UI updates. We improved the performance in Solitary Isles and parts of the mainland. We adjusted monster balance. We made loot table adjustments. We added a couple more quests. We added more to the new player experience, especially the Primordial Purgatory Zone. And then we also tried to do quality of life and bug fixes along the way. For system improvements, we worked on the 3 dungeons: Warrens of Thought, Temple of Ethyrial, and Blood Oath Citadel, and released all 3. We still need to work on profession systems. We added more to the mainland of Aramesa, more visual fidelity to particular zones and mob areas. We added more monsters and different types of monsters, and we added more points of interest as well. For social systems, we completed the bank, but still need to work on the trading post. And then for character systems, we completed the inventory rework. Goal number 3 talks about relics. I'm sure most of you who have played the game are familiar with relics. We have implemented the entire system, which included the relic schools, creating a hierarchy for that, creating the relic foundation for classes, currency to buy relics, which was the primordium, and conceptualizing new relics, which we have one in the pipeline but haven't released yet. And thank you for all those who helped prototype and test out that relic. Finally, goal 4 is our endgame systems. And for endgame systems, we wanted to conceptualize the idea of diagonal progression, which isn't necessarily a new topic, but for Ethyrial, we wanted a system that allowed you to gain vertical power, but needing to go horizontally first in order to gain that power. And we leveraged the key system to catalyze that. But for capstone achievements, there are things that we still need to add. So rewards for max skills and disciplines. We have the spirit vendors that give you a special item once you're level 40 for a profession. But we don't have any concept for disciplines yet, so we still need to add that. Decorations for housing. We don't have housing yet, so that can't be worked on until we have housing. We have opportunities for titles. There's one title that was added, but not from endgame systems, but we intend to add more titles. Acquiring best in slot gear. This will be done right now through the key system. Guild/solo leaderboards. We did implement that partly with the Oathbot and all of those leaderboards, but we want to be more in-depth and more activity-driven as well. And then PvP arenas, trade packs, and wildland improvements. I personally haven't touched the wildlands. It's something that I need to work on, adding more visual fidelity to that area, but we eventually want to work on that as well. And so Keys is the map system that we're basically working on. If any of you are familiar with Path of Exile, I would say that's the main inspiration for Keys. Keys have been implemented, and I will go over that a little bit more in the second roadmap document, which I will show right now. So this is basically the first roadmap document, except with updated information, and I want to go over the 4 goals that we have here. Goal number 1 is core improvements part 2. Goal number 2 is system improvements. Goal number 3, continuing endgame systems. And goal number 4 is polish. So under goal number 1, we want to continue the performance optimization. There is always going to be performance optimization. We want to improve the frame rate, memory leaking, hitching, server lags. And we're doing this by improving our technology to record the events that are happening in the game so that we can do a better job at fixing them. So we have a profiler that we've used more religiously, in order to find little things that could potentially cause big problems, and hopefully that will help resolve some of the things that you guys have been experiencing as you've been playing the game. Additionally, we want to improve the Purgatory to Solitary Isles flow. There's some issues that people have in the Primordial Purgatory area that we still need to figure out. We also want to make sure that just generally the experience from Purgatory through Solitary Isles is improved. And I can go into that a little bit later. We also want to add a tips tutorial module, which will be elaborations of certain things that we need to teach the player, like WASD to move, NPC interactions, crafting interactions. I have the UI and everything set up. We just need to kind of plug everything in and figure out what exactly we want to do for which tips at what time. Then we also want to include a player level guide. So for a particular level bracket, you'll have a guide that shows you the things that are available to you within that bracket. And this will help goal setting for new players to figure out what they want to work on if they log in, depending on what level bracket they are. We also want to add more quests and polish to those quests. We want to add skill requirements to quests. We don't necessarily like everyone being able to do every single quest without a particular requirement. If we give an example of the elemental surveying quest, I would like to put a requirement of like 10 mining for that quest, so that you have to level up mining before doing that quest. I particularly like that idea because it gives micro goals for people to work on, so it's not always about doing these big quests and then you'll have no other quests to do. It's kind of like developing your character and having your character grow and get stronger over time, and then hitting these quests and doing them to kind of forward the lore and world state that you're uncovering as you're in Solitary Isles and the mainland. And then, of course, adding more world building. I've been doing this for the past 6 months, and it won't stop. And so goal number 2, we have more system improvements. So these first 3 goals are pretty much the same as the previous roadmap document, just different line items within them. So number 1 is finishing the trading post. Once we have the terrain done, we're going to work on the trading post. Overall, the overall functionality of the trading post is done. There's just some edge case bugs that we need to fix, like some duplication that happens. Sometimes items don't appear, but like we're able to do transactions, and it's pretty much there, but we want to make sure it's right before we release it to everyone, and if there's an issue, it could spiral out of control pretty quickly. We want to implement the final 2 professions. I'm not exactly sure when this is going to be implemented, but we do intend on implementing farming and construction. And construction will be the player housing that I had mentioned before. We want to add more passive talents. So passive talents that are acquired from quests, from doodads that are scattered around Aramesa that you guys have uncovered, and then acquired from maps, vendors, etc., or killing mobs. We also want to add more rare mobs. There's about like 6 or 7 of them right now, and I really enjoyed building them out, and I think some of you also enjoy hunting them. So we want to add more of them with cool loot attached to them. So for goal number 3, I want to talk about the endgame systems a little bit. So for keys, that's basically the main endgame system that we want to implement before we start patching up other things. Basically, keys, like I said, are inspired from Path of Exile maps. What we have right now in terms of functionality is a item that spawns a random portal that you can enter. And then once you enter that portal, it randomizes 1 of 5 mobs that you can encounter in that map. And then in that map, there are certain items that we've injected in the map that you can get. In addition to this, we want to add more bosses and pinnacle bosses to the map system. I already started working on the one for the Frost map. We need to add more map-specific loot and vendor items to this system, and then the uber rare tables will be something that sits on top of the map loot tables, which are the extremely rare items that can be found from completing any map. So the general idea is that there's a micro progression system within the maps where you get items that make you more efficient to completing the maps, So you can do more maps more often, which allow you to farm the uber rare items more. So the uber rare items will be your pinnacle items that will be class changing, game changing once you get them. And then each map also has legendary items that are the pinnacle efficiency weapon that you can get for that map. So after keys, we also want to work on more solo content and group raid encounters. So like a solo boss, for example, was Mama Mana Bear that I built out. We want to have more of those to give players some just like solo bosses that they can grind out for gear. And we also want group raid encounters. There is one that I have set up that is conceptualized, but obviously not implemented yet. It is something that we will work on eventually, but we want to get keys out first. And then capstone achievements is copy and pasted from the previous roadmap document. It's the same stuff. We just want to continue working on it. So the last section is polish. Right now, Ethyrial is in a state that it was in 2023. It's a lot of assets that are store-bought. We want to start transitioning away from those. And so we have already commissioned some new environmental doodads. We're commissioning a skybox. We are working on improving color balance, lighting improvements, UI improvements. We have commissioned new player models to be built out. And we want to also work on getting better sound effects for spells and abilities and improved animations. This is where we take the foundation of the game and really supercharge it so that it is accessible and aesthetically pleasing for a large majority of people who want to play the game. In addition, we want to add more discoverable lore. So through quests or little pieces of information that you find throughout Era Mesa, we want you to get more engrossed in a central narrative or world state that we have created for you guys. It's not something that we have worked on right now, but it is something that we want to start developing as we are polishing all of the other components. So after we finish keys, that will be the blast pinnacle content that we will introduce before going back and going through all of the content that we have created before and filling in all the gaps there. So we also want to improve the user experience. What we lack now is a lot of haptics. So like leveling up a skill doesn't really have a sounds for receiving a quest, talking to an NPC, completing a portion of a quest, etc., etc. We want to make sure that the player understands each nugget of change that is happening as they're playing the game, and we don't have that set up right now, and we want to continue working towards building that out. We also want to fix conversation dialogue flow. There's still grammar mistakes and there's still spelling mistakes that we have, and we want to make sure that those are all ironed out before formally releasing the game. So this is the kind of micro roadmap that we've created. Now I want to show you a year-by-year roadmap that we've also created for you guys. So this is our kind of 2 to 3 year plan that we have for the game. Let me move this a little bit. So we have stuff that we want to do from now until the end of the year. We have a set of goals that we want to do for year 2, 2026, and then for 2027. So for 2025, our goals are to finish the trading post, to add new character models and animations, to implement the smooth terrain tool and start working on that, to improve combat and movement polish, so to improve some animations and movement animations. We also want to start updating our art style and update our brand as well, and then work on content roadmap line items. Then once 2026 hits, we want to start thinking about exploring Patreon/community support. This will help accelerate our development to get all the right pieces put together for preparing for a 1.0 release. We want to transition to a bi-weekly content release, whether this is adding more maps, adding more bosses, adding more quests. We want to kind of hold ourselves accountable to creating a normal cadence for content releases so that we stay consistent and not just randomly update things. We want to expand and deepen existing game systems. This includes, potentially adding more stuff to disciplines, adding skill augments, adding more quests, adding better profession variability, adding more mobs, etc. Basically, that whole umbrella that talks about, filling in all the gaps that don't exist right now. We also want to improve netcode optimization. We've been working on that throughout this year, and yeah, pretty much all of this year, and we'll continue working on that this year and next year. And then, of course, content roadmap line items. And then 2027, this is where we want to set up for a potential 1.0 release. We don't know when in 2027 this will happen, but we believe this is the amount of time that we need to create a game that is accessible to as many people as we want to have play the game. Then along this, we want to also work towards building out a marketing campaign for the game, think about what type of post 1.0 content strategies we want, and then also work on a website/account system. So long story short, this game still has a while in development before it is going to be pushed towards that 1.0 release. I say that with quotes because 1.0 is not necessarily what we want to call it. We just want to put it in a presentable state that we could tell our friends, hey, play Ethyrial, it's at the same type of quality as the MMOs in this genre. We think another 2 years or 2.5 years will be good to get it in a good spot. That's all I really had for the roadmap. If any of you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me in Discord. I am Cheesemate in Discord, and I also try to stream playing the game more often, and you can definitely ask me questions while I'm streaming as well. But for the time being, I hope you found this informative and helpful, and I hope you have a good rest of the day. Thank you so much.